Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Senator, how you feeling?
I'm feeling okay.
All right, now the last time we did this, you weren't a senator. You were a potential senator.
Yes, I was running for office in 2020.
All right, so what we did last time, maybe we were the good luck charm because you're doing it again.
Yes. See, that might have been it. That might have been my good luck charm that took me over the hump and I won.
All right, no. But now that you're there, you are
Yes.
back, and it's the Quest to 10. We got 10 questions that we're asking political aspirants,
Okay.
which would include the gubernatorial race as well.
Oh, excellent.
This is a paid segment.
Yes.
I wouldn't want any senatorial candidates
To feel like-
they got bias up there.
She gained special treatment.
Right. So everybody's got the same questions.
Oh, no, we paid. We
Yeah.
did.
Oh, yeah. I got the PayPal. It was PayPal, right? Yeah, I got that. I received that. All right. And so I got some questions for you.
Yes.
And your answers will be distinctly different from last time because they are different questions. But now you have had the experience
Yes.
of being a senator.
Totally different.
Totally different. Was it like what you thought it'd be, or
Well, I would say
easier, harder?
it was a little bit easier, but
really?
at the beginning,
Okay.
it was a little different because you have to understand I was literally the only employee that worked there 20-something years that transitioned from being an employee to being a senator.
That's tough.
So now people that were technically my bosses, I was now their equal.
Right.
And
Or superior.
listen, some of them, it was a little different for them to get adjusted to, for just maybe a handful. But I think after the first couple months, maybe one or two, and they understood that the people made their decision. And at the end of the day, each one of us brings something unique to the table, and it's our job to work collectively to get the people's work done. And that's all we cared about, and it's been perfectly fine ever since.
I'd be lying if I told you. I didn't expect you to say easier.
It's been because you have to understand how I function. I am very direct, and I'm not gonna really beat around the bush with a lot of he say, she say, if and.
Right.
If I see an issue arriving, I'm gonna go to the source. Listen, this is my problem. This is it. I don't have the energy for it. Let's work on this, and this, and that's it. And after we did that, I have had no issue since I've been in there. It just is what it is.
All right. Are you ready for your 10 questions? Because
Yes.
that wasn't one.
Oh,
That was just your warm-up tester question.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
No. That's to get your blood flowing.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
All right, here we go. All right, so what motivated you to seek political office?
Well, it was quite a few things. It had to do with the fact that I was in media for so long, and as a talk show host, I spoke quite a bit to the public. And as I listened to their issues and concerns, and I kept saying, it's one thing for us to be talking all the time, but it's another thing to be able to be in a position to have that opportunity to really change and implement some of the things that people were speaking about. And also, a couple years after that, from being a talk show host, I had the unfortunate incident of my brother being murdered. And that also triggered me to want to see what were the things that was happening in my community, whether socioeconomic, whether family-oriented, whether crime-oriented, that needed to be fixed in order to build a better Virgin Islands. So those were some of the things that really pushed me to run for office.
Now, having been there, based on that motivation, were you able to find some of that resolve in this position?
I would say with some of the pieces of legislation I have been able to do, it is never going to be a resolve. I've realized that.
Right.
It's going to be continuous work because, there's no rest for the weary. When it comes to you genuinely wanting to build a better place, build a better Virgin Islands for everyone, it's an everyday process. So as soon as you think like, okay, I got one thing accomplished, there's another 10 that just popped up that you have to figure out and resolve. So it's a work in progress.
All right. You kind of alluded to legislation. So my
Yes.
next question is, what legislation are you most proud of?
I have several, but I will say this. What I'm most proud of, not just the legislation, is the fact that I was able to work with my colleagues. You have to understand, I went into the legislature as a member of the minority. I am an independent candidate, and I am transitioning or getting reelected, or hopefully getting reelected to the 35th legislature as the freshman senator with the most legislation passed this term.
Oh, nice.
I don't know how,
Okay.
but we got it done because I recognize the ability to work with my colleagues. It didn't matter what party line. It didn't matter who you were, who I was. If I was bringing forward legislation that was in the best interest of the people, that's all anyone should care about. It shouldn't matter where I'm at. And I was able to do that. And for example, some of the pieces of legislation I was able to do, the one about reciprocity, that's currently law.
It's one of my favorite words.
What it was for me, there was a piece of legislation that a law in the books that said that individuals coming into the territory could come with their guns. And for me, that was an alarm. I don't have a problem with you coming to the Virgin Islands to enjoy our sun, sand, and sea. If you're just coming to visit, just bring yourselves and your family. Why are you bringing your weapons with you? But our law allowed for that. So what I went
Past
into
tense?
Yes, past tense. Because through my legislation, it is completely removed out of the VI code now.
Yeah, because it ain't like you could go hunting here.
Exactly. So I didn't want a situation where people felt like reciprocity for what? I'm not taking a gun up to any other state. So it's not enforceable for law enforcement. Of course, law enforcement could go back and forth. But individuals cannot.
Well, that is significant legislation. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. No, it was a one and done.
I had about
How many you had?
About 13.
Oh, okay. I'll let you get that off. You know what I mean? I had 13. All right. Okay. That's impressive, though.
We worked hard. I didn't even realize it until one of my staff members brought it to my attention. She said, "Do you realize you literally, as the freshman senator, has the most bills passed this term?" I said, "Okay, I didn't even know."
So I'm going to allow you to answer this.
Yes.
Is that the most bills passed of any senator or just a freshman senator?
Well, I can't say of any because I was only tracking mine.
Right.
But
that's a big number. You got to be up there.
I tracked with the 6 individuals that came in because I said, well, let me see with us new coming in because we all wanted to be change agents and wanted to bring something to the table. So I did track my 6 colleagues. I didn't do all of them.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yes.
But I would imagine, I don't know for a fact, but I would imagine you would have to be up there with the top scorers in this ball game.
Yeah.
With 13. All right. So what is your platform?
Well, I have several things on my platform, but the thing is, a lot of them we got accomplished. I wanted to see change when it came to crime. I want to see things changing when it comes to housing. If reelected to the legislature, one of my main focus for next term, I really, really want to focus on housing. It has been a major issue here in the territory. I have already put in legislation to revamp zoning here in the Virgin Islands as it relates to the parcel size. One of the things I realized is young people want homes.
Right.
And that's a major problem. You know, back in the day, our parents and grandparents made these huge monstrosity houses that, you know, because they were having a lot of babies, etc. But nowadays, you're finding, you know, whether it's the young millennials or the Gen Zs, they're having 1-2 home families. They have one baby. They don't need these large houses. But our code is designed to build the large houses. So one of the things I want to go in and shift the size of a plot for you to be able to build smaller and medium homes. So where, for example, on 1 acre, you might have only been allowed to put 2 houses. You might be able to put 3 or 4, depending on how you're able to cut it up.
Gotcha.
And a simple change like that could literally change the dynamic of how you could build homes in the territory.
Those are things that I wouldn't even think about. That's poignant. Nice.
Well, thank you. But these are the types of things I want to look at because it's very important so that people from here, whether you relocate here or born or raised here, there are things that are important to us to feel like we own a piece of the pie, own a piece of our paradise, that it's a part of us. Yeah. I was born and raised, and I have been fortunate enough through generation, you know, property being passed down or even purchasing my own. That's what I was able to do, and I think every Virgin Islander should be afforded that.
Right. There's a $3.8 billion funding note under the GRS solvency plan. Do you feel this is a long-term solution? And if it isn't, what is your long-term solution for GRS?
We did that special purpose vehicle in the 34th legislature. One of the mandates that I was given by the people of the territory when I was reelected, y'all figure this out, because we are not trying to go without a retirement system. And we told them, based on the actuaries that told us the GRS would have been insolvent by 2023, 2024. They had shifted it 1 year. And we knew that there was no place else to kick the can. It had to be done in the 34th legislature. And working with the administration as well as the 34th legislature, we were able to come up with a plan to really, I wouldn't say permanently. I think it would stop it right now. But I think the retirement system still has to be worked on.
Okay.
How it is currently
What work would you do to it?
How it's currently set up, it can't continue that way.
Right.
I think we would have to create another tier, another level, which would allow for maybe people going into 401ks, but really change it in a way where that there are other options as opposed to just the same, who comes in and goes out, and then the ones that are out is being paid by the ones that are in. At some point, that's not going to balance out.
Right.
It's just typical math. So
Right.
we have to be able to create more balance and give people more opportunities to look for different ways, not only to have retirement plans within the system. And I think that's the way to go, but also having people on the board that understand this. And when you have people on the board that is going to make better decisions on behalf of GRS, you're going to have better plans coming forward. So I think what we did was great, but I think the work has to continue to make sure this system stays around for quite a bit.
All right, so you're proposing a change agent through the board.
Well, no, we made some changes to the board already.
Okay.
Where, requirements for who could be on the
Right.
board. But I also am proposing that they also look at other diversity having different diversity when it comes to offering different plans for the retirement
Gotcha.
system.
Okay, gotcha.
As opposed to the same tier system we have.
Gotcha. What's your plans for education?
Well, I think, unfortunately, we've had a little issue with education. I was on the Senate floor the other day, and I asked them directly, how much money do we spend per child? And they didn't have the answer right away. And I basically told them, I said, I have it because I already calculated it. It's somewhere between $11,000 to $12,000 per child. And then I gave them the example of how, since my brother had passed away, I had raised his 2 children. I have been raising his 2 children. One went to private school and one went to public school. And I said, on average, one child, I paid about $8,500 a year for him to go to private school. And you're telling me the other one is getting $12,000 in public school, and their education
See what
is
you did there.
starkly different. You understand me? So I'm trying to understand, where exactly is this money going? And I said to them, part of the problem is the education department has become the dumping ground for government because it has the largest budget. Everybody gets puts in there. And a lot of the money is going to the top as opposed to it going directly to the children.
Right.
And that is a major problem. Because if I saw the difference between an $8,500 education and one you're telling me there's $12,000 and they're not adding up, something is severely wrong with what we're doing in the public schools. And I also shared with them that I know we had an issue because of the hurricanes and because of COVID, our children had to learn virtually, and this was also a concern. But I also recognize that even prior to that, we had the numbers where our children were at such a low reading level in math and all these different areas. What are we doing in order to solve this? For me, I want to put forward solutions where we put some of the money towards mentoring programs and tutoring programs, where even if we have to put up money separate for teachers to do overtime to directly impact these children, some of them on a smaller scale. And also one of the things I wanted to do is for more alternative programs when it comes to children. We have a way of creating a cookie cutter situation for every child. Every child is not the same. Yes, our system is, you put 20 children in a classroom, 25 in a classroom, and that's how they learn. Every child is not the same. Right. When I went to school, I was not that child. I literally would get bored in class. I didn't like that classroom setting, and I would zone out. The only time I really would say, my teacher would come to me and say, Alma, you're failing. I need you. The only way you're gonna pass this class is you have to get an A on your final exam.
Right.
I remember,
and then the pressure is on.
Listen, I remember one year, 11th grade, I was failing English, and my teacher said, Alma, you have to pass English. I was like, okay, what do I got to do? He said, you're getting all your grades, plus we're going to give 10 bonus. You remember those bonus points they would give you? And I remember I took the test. I got, out of 110, I got 108. And all I really cared about at that time, does this average in so I could pass? And some children learn differently. Some are more visual, some are more audio. And I think we have to learn as educators and the people in charge of education to really zone in on the differences of how children learn and create different programs that assist them. Not everybody is the same. And I think we also have to do a little bit more with them going out into the environment and learning that way as well. I know I could talk on education forever, but I know time is running.
Right, so diversifying the curriculum.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that would help too.
All right, now our friends in Puerto Rico, tens of thousands of them are still without power 1 week later. This is something that could very well happen to us. What are some of your solutions for the Water and Power Authority?
My biggest solution is to tear the whole thing down and rebuild it.
Whoa!
Okay.
That escalated quickly.
I have never had the biggest headache in my life. That Water and Power Authority, and I'm not even just talking as a senator, I'm talking as a business owner as well. That I need a moment.
Oh man, okay.
And I'm talking from, it's like, like so many things want to come out and I'm trying to organize it so I don't. So let's focus on one at a time. First of all, the legislature is a body. We have a subcommittee called Energy and Infrastructure where we attempted to go in and change the board. Because one of the things we recognize is some of the
board at WAPA?
Yes. Okay. The board decisions have led us to being the highest paying utility in the entire Caribbean, entire United States. Let's just call it what it is. Right. We're at 43 cents for residential and 47 for commercial. And one of the things that I recognize that's a major problem with that is how did we get here? A lot of the decisions that the board made was in their attempt to help reduce our costs, but all it did is inflated them. And my thing when we attempted to change the board makeup was we needed to stop being in a situation where we were just putting on political appointees. We were getting people on that. We need people with technical savvy, people that understand energy, people that understand that when they're reading through these contracts, because when you have a chairperson saying, hey, well, I just listened to what they told me and I voted, then you really don't know what's in this contract. Right. And that's a major problem for me. And that leads to our higher rates. And another issue is for me as a private business owner, for example, I had to do a whole energy audit because my electrical bills were skyrocketing and nobody could explain to me what was happening. And I had to tap in and figure this out with them. Then the water, that's a whole nother issue. And I think for me, when it comes to economic growth in the territory, WAPA is literally the biggest thing for me that I think is very hindering to businesses here in the territory. When you have, say, a business in the United States where you could factor in less than 5% for your utility bills, here in the Virgin Islands, some businesses have to factor in 50%. Yeah. Why am I working my behind off to give an electrical company half of my profits? Yeah. It makes no logical sense.
My light bill was as high as the rent.
Listen.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We were in the same boat. My energy audit fixed it. Maybe that's what you should try to do. Okay. I cut mine in half.
All right.
Half.
Got you. I need to cheat off your paper on that.
I literally, I went from thousands.
Because you were talking about school days. You went to 11th grade? Let's do it like 11th grade. Let me cheat off your paper. Let me see what you did to cut down on your light bill.
It to you.
All right, thank you. Solutions for mental health in the Virgin Islands.
Yes.
What you got?
This one is kind of hits close to home because within the past couple months, I had a situation within my own family that I had to go through the process of dealing with mental health here in the territory. I had to go through utilizing the code as to how to get someone the help they need. And through that, I had to now put in legislation because I realized the code is potentially skewed in certain ways. But mental health and wellness here is very important. And I don't think a lot of people realize what's happening. You have individuals that we're dealing with traumas back to back to back, but we still want the people of the territory to just go out and act like they're normal and everything is okay.
Right.
You have hundreds of murders unsolved. And you have individuals that you telling them, oh, somebody just killed your kid, but go back to work. But then you want them to smile in front of a tourist and say, you know what, I'm good. And nobody's stopping to check. Did you bother to see if that person is really okay? You know, you have individuals that are dealing with homelessness after these hurricanes. They're still living with other family members, can't find a better place because it's so much happening and nobody's bothering to see if people are okay. And I think our solution has to be in investing more in not only just programs, but the psychologists and the psychiatrists here in the territory. You know, we are very limited in that aspect. So whether we have to have solutions where we open up the door for more video therapy, whether we have more group sessions, whether we invest more in call-in numbers that people could call in and tap in. And, you know, sometimes as human beings, just check on a friend. We have to be able to be that Virgin Islands that we used to be, that I grew up around, where people were more close-knit and really looked out for each other. Right. But from a standpoint of mental health and wellness, I mean, it's so many things that you don't even realize affect people. And these are just elements. But then what happens to the things that are genetically done? You know, even with mine was a genetic situation that was triggered in early age. And I'm sitting there as a relative, I'm like, what is happening? And when you're seeing somebody that literally was perfect and just acted like normal, and within a 3-month period, you're scratching your head like, this is not the same person. And you literally have to fight through the system just to get them the help they need. And then I'm thinking to myself, if I'm an elected official and all of these levels I have to fight through, what's happening to my residents? What's happening to my constituents? And I realized that how the system is set up, it has to be revamped in a way to really get people the help they need. And in a way, and when you pick up the phone and you call into, say, human services, which I did, to really say, well, what can I do to get my relative the help they need? And I'm hearing things like, well, we really don't have anyone on staff. What? So why are we paying all this money? Why are we putting out all of these funds for all these things? Because that's what the legislature does. We appropriate these monies. We put them out there so you could go and hire and do what you have to do to help the people. But when you're telling me there's nothing there, that's a problem for me. But time.
Okay. Right. We are tight on time.
I could rattle on, but it's a lot.
Yes, but but I mean, I feel like it's one of our most pressing issues in the community that is definitely overlooked for some weird reason.
And it should never be.
Right.
I would tell you, I am a firm believer, you know, you have government employees that have insurance. And part of that is going to go to the doctor for a psychiatrist. And it's no real cost to them. Because at the end of the day, listen, I see a psychiatrist or a therapist as a paid best friend that don't run their mouth. So you have somebody you could go into, vent, get your thoughts in. Because if you stump your toe, you're going to go to a foot doctor. Why is it the one thing in your body that controls everything is the one thing we have a problem with? Right. And I don't know if it's a Caribbean thing where everybody's like, oh, you don't ever go to the doctor, you don't go to the psychiatrist because people think you're crazy. Right. But you might get crazy if you don't go.
Right, that is true. And our last question for you.
Yes.
Where do you stand on arts, entertainment, and athletics?
I think they're ridiculously important and more needed in our community. I think a lot of emphasis over the last couple of years, I do believe in academics, but I also believe in holistically around human beings, like everything. You know, I want them to be intelligent and smart enough, the academic wise, but I want them involved in sports. I want them involved in the arts because that creates a well-rounded person. And a lot of times you have some people that are more creative than care to deal with sports, and you have some people that are more academic. So why not give them every aspect that they need? And one of the things I'm really disappointed with, and I really hope that the education department especially improves upon, has to do with even sports in our schools. These last couple of years have dwindled down to nothing. And people don't recognize the same way children get scholarships to go off to school for academics. A lot of our children back in the day were getting scholarships to go off for sports and these different things. And when you take that aspect away from them, you're also limiting the capabilities for them to get a higher education. And I think all of these are so important, and they have to be really pushed. And really, we do a better job in these aspects.
All right. Well,
okay,
thank
how
you
did
very
I do
much.
on time?
Oh, you set a new standard for time.
Okay.
But you were amazing, if I could say that. But
you.
thank you very much for your insight and a look inside the thoughts of sitting Senator Alma Francis-Heyliger. Thank you so much for coming through, man.
All right, I greatly appreciate it. And you guys have a good day. I like the setup. This is my first time here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yep. There's an app for that.
It's called Vivid Streaming, and you can download it in the app and Google Play Store.